all my followers to the Athletic Training Now podcast. This is your host, Jan Clifton-Gaw. Tonight, we're going to be talking about The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday and how it relates to us as athletic trainers. I have some amazing guests with us tonight, but if you are new to the program, I personally am a certified athletic trainer working and living in central Indiana. Been here for 2 decades. Started my career in the southern part of the state and spent a lot of time doing a lot of very valuable things, grow where you're planted kind of a thing. And I've been very blessed. But currently, my career and my goal for every day is to make sure that the secondary ed students who are in my care can reach their goals, their life goals. That's what I'm doing. I am taking care of those high school athletes. Again, with our special guests, we have Chris, G Cubed, and Ellie. Chris, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to the crowd here first.
Yeah, I'm Chris Gleason. Everybody calls me G. I've been in the game for about 17 years, meaning I've been a certified athletic trainer for 17 years. I started my career, got my bachelor's degree at the University of Southern Mississippi to the top, and I worked there as I was working on my education degree. So I went back to school immediately, got education degree so that I could teach and work at high schools. From there, I didn't get hired straight into a school. I got hired by a clinic and worked there for a few years as outreach, covered a few high schools. But for the past 14 years, I have worked for Purvis High School and in Lamar County in South Mississippi. So I've seen quite a bit of high school injuries and issues through the years, including a catastrophic C-spine injury in 2007 that really kind of shocked my career and changed my path a little bit. But recently I picked up an NPSL team, the Stars, the Southern State Stars. We have a semi-pro soccer team here in South Mississippi that has been fairly successful, made it to the Elite Eight the past 2 years. And so I work with international athletes from all over the world that play the fine game of soccer or football. And and I as well teach and work at the high school. That's my day job, and my side hustle is the NPSL. Also a father and trying to navigate that, a father of three. So that's a full-time job in itself. But
Absolutely.
I'm happy. Thank you for having me, Jane.
Hey, we're glad to have you, Chris. Since he did say where he was from, the panel that we have in front of us right now, down in the very bottom, I went to Indiana State for my undergraduate degree back in the day when we actually had our logo be sycamores through the center with the state of Indiana, but that star is not where Terre Haute is. But I thought I would at least give some frame of reference for those of you who are like, hey, that's the wrong logo. No, that's the few decades ago logo. Next, if we can have our West Coast lady, Giselle, could you give us a little bit of your background and where you're at professionally right now?
Hello, and yes, I will be more than happy to do that. Hi, I'm Giselle Griffin. Everybody refers to me as Gigi. I have been in this lovely field of sports medicine for quite some time, going on 30 years here. So I started out in the collegiate level, and I made my way up through to the professional level, and now I am on the high school level and junior college and industrial and doing some MBA work. So I have a lot of different, my hand in a lot of different fires here because I am one that wants to know firsthand on what each field is all about. So I'm on the hustle, always been on the hustle, don't know any different. But my background is heavily into therapy. That's what I've done mostly in the NFL. I was, manual therapist on the rehab team for the Oakland Raiders for many, many years until they moved from California to Vegas, and then I transferred over to did a lateral move over to the NBA, which currently I work mainly with the officials. So that is very different. And my day job is at a high school. I decided to do high school because high school, those are our up and coming athletes. And if we're going to try to change the way we are perceived, might as well start at the level where they start really receiving our professional care as athletic trainers. I love this field. I love everything about it. That's why I'm still here. And one day I'm going to be teaching others how to keep this field going and how to be the best you can be, clinical wise, and just dealing with people all around. I have two young men in college. One's graduating next year, heading to law school. Actually, this December, and my youngest is actually graduating next year. He designs video games. Very proud mother I am. But along the way, I use them to actually teach them how to take care of themselves, how to take care of others and be respectful to others, and how to explain what things are going on with their bodies, with themselves. They're both athletes. That's a lifetime lesson that we learn. So, and also in my spare time, I really have spare time doing a DAT program and doing my day and side hustles. I also throw a USA Track and Field Masters Division. And when I go in competitions worldwide, I go all over the place. I take the opportunity to talk to my teammates in my competition about the importance of having an athletic trainer and knowing what's going on with your body and the biomechanics and everything. So I'm constantly learning from others. I'm constantly teaching others. So that's a little bit about me, just a little bit.
Absolutely. What you said about why we end up with those quote unquote day jobs, that's exactly why I chose the high school setting as well. We get to make a huge impact on people as they're developing their personalities and who they are. And I found that was my sweet spot.
Yes.
Certainly not by default, but I saved the best for last. Ellie, could you please introduce yourself?
Oh, wow. It's hard to follow up on that. My name is Ellie. I am a newly certified athletic trainer. Got certified this past June, actually. I graduated from Culver Stockton College, which is where I did 1 year of clinical work or clinical hours, and then a couple weeks at Quincy University and Hannibal LaGrange, Maryville University, which is in Lewis, where I worked with a hockey team. And now I have my first job at Culver Academy, and I'm working as one of the grad assistants there.
So I would say that we have the wide range generational differences that are going to be speaking to you guys tonight, listening to this podcast. A wide variety of different experiences, but we all still have a passion for learning. And I think that's how we all ended up together in the Indiana State University doctorate in athletic training cohort that began, boy, it seems like a long time ago, but it was just a few months ago that we got to meet each other and are experiencing a whole new wonderful way to look at the career that we love so much. Because I hope you listeners kind of caught that from all of us that we choose to do this, and it's pretty powerful and impactful on us. And that brings us into our main topic for tonight. The book, The Obstacle is the Way, and that's why this panel is here tonight together. and really melding that with this idea of the pursuit of athletic training, clinical excellence. That's where we're at. So the first portion of this book, right off the way, I think I'll open the floor up. Giselle, do you have any thoughts about this quote by Marcus Aurelius and what the whole essence of the book was basically around this quote specifically? Do you have anything that you would like to give to our audience tonight?
Yes, this quote is a very powerful quote. The impediment to action, advance action, what stands in the way becomes the way. Because what stands in the way, it really does become the way. I believe that we will overcome obstacles. There's obstacles in life. There's obstacles in our workplace. There's obstacles that we emotionally get attached to. But if we don't take action to help us overcome these obstacles, what pathway are we taking? Are we just giving up and we're going to constantly do a backwards or a lateral move? Or are we going to conquer the obstacle straight on and take that as a learning lesson, or take that as a way that you can progress yourself? You know, especially in this field of athletic training, I've had many obstacles over the many job opportunities that I've had. So
how many
action.
Gee, how many women were working in the NFL when you started
Let me
working
tell
for the
you,
Raiders?
none. And to this day, none. They have female like in summer interns, but if you look on the roster, there's none. So when I began working with the organization, it was difficult. It was very difficult. Pretty much the owner of the organization didn't really like a lot of females unless you were a secretary or one of the, you know, the standard front office people. But as for working around in the players, no, there are none on staff. So it was very difficult to overcome that. And it took many years to walk through the front door where into the rehab room where all the rest of the male therapists walk through. I had a difficult time with that, but you know what though? That was my obstacle, and I made it a priority to become the way and to become that, be able to open up the door for other females to get in that field.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
GG, that brought up like a really good point actually. So when I was reading through the book and looking through everything, I wrote down a couple of things and a couple quotes, and one area that I like really wanted to address was two main points: was life is not about one obstacle but many obstacles. So that's kind of something that you mentioned a little bit, because at the end of the day, once you get through one obstacle, there is going to be another one. And then something that I'm like trying to get through myself is love everything that happens. Because as a young professional in the moment, I'm always gonna be, oh my gosh, that was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I'll even say it myself. I know I say, but at the end of the day, I've talked to all of you as, you know, cohort classmates, friends, and I've even talked to like family and other people, but they said like at the end of the day, like everything that is happening and is the worst thing in the moment for me right now is going to help me grow as an individual and become a better person, individual, and an athletic trainer at the end of the day. So that just brought up something that I wanted to share.
Definitely.
That is a beautiful way to summarize so much of what this awesome book was. Just G, Chris.
Yes.
Thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, I honestly, you know, this book kind of just fell into my lap, and it was not a choice. So, you know, it just kind of fell on me, and to be honest with you, it's right on time, and there's so many themes throughout that just ring true, and as that I want to keep in my life and write down on my hand or tattoo on my skin, or and just to kind of remind me to just keep moving forward. Ellie just said you'll get an obstacle out of the way and there'll be another one, but there's hope in that, Ellie, and the hope is that you'll get better at doing those things. You'll become a lot more resilient, and you'll become a lot more persistent, and you'll become a lot more, you'll persevere, and those obstacles don't seem so big in the future, as you move those out of your way, and you can kind of use that as an example. I've conquered this. There's nothing that I can't do, and so this book really honestly organized a lot of the things that were just like jumbled in my head, that were just ideas, I guess, of like mantras to live by, that organized them in a way that made sense to me, and that I could see myself reading this again, I mean, maybe yearly. It was a really good read, an easy read, and also just, it really speaks to, just keep going, and that's been really a big theme in my life recently and in my career.
I am so thankful that you brought up about at the right time. I feel that the choice of this specific material by our professor for the class that we're taking together was intentional. It makes me smile when I would read something that was happening in us clinically and through the collective coursework that we're taking right now in the DAT. And then here was a message of hope, or a kick in the pants from the voice of the author. It was pretty striking to me how that happened. I think the book set up in 3 parts. The first part, kind of perception, reversing the order a little bit. Maybe we can have Chris start a little bit about his thoughts about the first part of the book.
It's so funny because I've weaved this book into multiple parts, and I know we're supposed to tie this into to athletic training as a practice, but really there's a lot of life lessons, and since I do teach youth, and I always try to be very conscious and intentional about what I say to them and how I say it, and I always bring up perception as a big deal. It's how you view things is everything. And and with that, I found in the book there was a quote about your perspective, in how you see things, and Ryan says, where your head goes, so does your body follows. And I thought, this is great. There's so many times, doing this for 17 years and kind of feeling at times throughout my career that there was times I was stuck, or even times in my life that I was kind of stuck or just complacent with what was going on. And I would drag in, and I would be, just not a pleasant person. And if you know me, you know that I'm a pleasant person. But I would just, in the book, it says, I don't, it says where the head goes, the body follows. And so what I figured from that, or what I got from that, was I don't have to do this. I get to do this. I don't have to do ankle rehab with this guy again today. I get to do this. And that's something that's rewarding to me, that I get to do. I get to work with these young people and really make a difference. And when I can really frame it like that, it changes the way that my head is, and then it changes the way my motivation is, the way that my body follows. I mean, that's a very true statement there.
That's amazing synopsis. Awesome. Miss Ellie, do you have anything to add about the first part of the book?
I think for me, I kind of mentioned it earlier, was just I think in the very beginning it talks about the rock and the boulder, and who moves the rock to find the coin after. Or the change, I believe. I can't fully remember. And I think that was something that kind of stuck with me, especially throughout the book. I kind of always went back to that.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
because it was just talking about how, like, again, they're just getting through the obstacles. And that is something that I think I'll always kind of take through. Like, I honestly feel like I think about this book a lot more than I thought I would. Because at the end of the day, life is about obstacles and just trying to get through obstacle and through obstacle and obstacle. And the perception, as G had mentioned, is like we have a choice of like how we will get around these obstacles. If we do it, we do it, and if we don't, we don't. Um, so how well you yourself do like go through this obstacle, and that's something that I'm trying to like focus on personally.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Giselle, you've had a ton of obstacles, literally and figuratively put in your way to your path through athletic training and where you are today. What's one thing that really spoke to you in the first segment of this book?
So out of all the things that really resonated and spoke to me, the one thing is do your job and do it right.
Oh yeah.
Because I had one opportunity and one only.
Mhm.
And well, I had many opportunities, but in their eyes, it's like I'm waiting for you to mess up. So you do your job and you do it right. You know, everybody's perception of right may be different, but if you're effective and you prove your effectiveness, you're doing your job right. If you have a line, you know, at your table for someone to get treatment, you're doing something right,
Mm.
you know? So
Amen.
that's my thing. You do your job and you do it right. Be good at everything that you do.
Mhm. I'll take the closing comment here about this segment. I had an athlete start at the high school 4 years ago following a catastrophic injury. To make a long story very short, she'd been in a four-wheeler accident almost 5 years ago now. And the when the vehicle flipped, she ended up having half of her foot amputated um, because they just couldn't stop the infection and so forth. And when I saw her the first time try to run to play soccer, I thought she would be a below the knee amputee by Christmas that year. And that was my perception, and it was very short-sighted. We've worked very hard the last 3 years to really some restorative medicine, and we had to modify her activities here towards the end because her skin graft they used over her um, amputation site was starting to break down from the wear and tear of multiple soccer games. And the perception, yes, it was tough because the coaches wanted her to play, but I always came back to, but where did we start and where are we now? And in giving that perspective, we had many victories every time I could get her out on the field, and she did start, but it's been a tough, hard haul. I'll just say that. So we find moments all throughout the athletic training world where we can frame how we feel about something and whether we think we can do something or not. And sometimes we surprise ourselves. The second part was about action. And um, Ellie, do you feel comfortable starting to talk about action? The middle part of the book?
Yeah. I think for me, like I said, just building off of the way I see the book is from the very beginning. Honestly, the first chapter was just like the foundation for me and just like talking about the obstacle and then just getting through all of it. So for me, the obstacle is this right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my obstacle is the DAT. I don't know, or doctorate in athletic training. I don't know if that's for everybody. Obviously there's smaller obstacles throughout my lifetime, but the obstacle right now for me is the DAT and getting through that. And so something that I wrote down when going through that through the book was it's supposed to be hard. Um,
Oh, yes,
and
absolutely.
yeah, and I've always heard that, during like sports, during high school, during college, and even during now. Um, did I know it was going to be this hard? No. But just reading that section of the book, I don't know if you guys remember that, was really eye-opening to me because it is supposed to be hard. But again, looking at the obstacle that's in the way, how am I going to change my mindset to be able to get through something that's supposed to be hard? And so that's something that I just need to continue to um, remind myself of.
Absolutely. What a powerful summation there of that middle section. Um, Giselle, what in the middle kind of sung to you?
Well, there's a lot that's been really, really popping up. But one thing that I really resonated with is the persistence aspect. Persistence. So we have to understand that obstacles can't be navigated by avoidance. You can't avoid obstacles. They're going to be there. How are you going to navigate through them? How are you going to do that? You have to have persistence. I see persistence as practice and perseverance as being the game. You have to practice in order to come to or close to perfection, or easing into it. You have to practice these things. So the thing is, though, when you practice, you can't be in a hurry. You can't be worried. You can't be desperate. And definitely you can't stop. You can't quit. You have to keep on going. So this is the persistence. People will often tell you no, but see, that's your obstacle that you have to overcome. No is your obstacle. So you're going to prove that no can become a yes. And you have to open the door for yourself oftentimes. That's being persistent, because no one's going to open up the door for you, especially in this field, especially being different in this field.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be persistent. I would never have gone to this level that I've come to this level that I'm on now if I wasn't persistent. If I took no as an answer and shut down, I would not have been here doing my job in this capacity. So you have to make sure that you strive, you seek, and you find. Strive, seek, and find. That was a quote out of the book, referring to what was it? If I can remember, Ulysses, and when he was going into, I guess, the battle. So you have to strive, you have to seek, and you have to find, and you have to refuse. And most importantly, refuse to give up. You can't give up. Come this far, you invested all of this time. We're all invested in this DAT. Now we can't give up. I haven't given up for many, many years, and I don't intend to give up now. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Um, you just took me to a place, and I wanted to read something that was in that middle segment of this book. There's nothing shameful about being wrong, about changing course. Each time it happens, we have new options. Problems become opportunities. The obstacle becomes what we need. I thought that was so powerful. And on the following pages that I had circled, action and failure are two sides of the same coin. We have to keep moving forward, especially at this advanced level of looking at our profession and analyzing everything that we're doing and how can we do it better and how can we clinically be better for our patients, our athletes. I think that's pretty powerful. Chris, I know that you have so much to say about action. Could you please give us your
Jan,
thoughts?
let me just say, Jan, I have thoroughly enjoyed this group. And what I see in this group is process, and that was a huge point in the book. And what I mean is trusting the process. And so, we had many discussions, off the mic and just kind of informal, where we, almost kind of huddled around Ellie. That's in the beginning of her phases, and then we talked to Gigi, and we talked to you about, where we're at in those end games, and like you said earlier, I don't know what I'd do if I just stopped, and and I kind of take my look around, and I feel like I'm right in the middle, and I'm looking down, and I'm seeing Ellie at the beginning phase. I'm looking up at you guys, and I'm seeing that process. And the book really hammers that point of just trusting the process. And I think a young professional, especially, it's so hard to see that process and to stick in there with it, and to just keep going. That it talks about action, and the lack of action is an obstacle in itself. So got to get moving, and trust that process of where you are in your career path. I mean, heck, even I'm talking to myself here, because I'm looking and I'm thinking there's no point in time that I feel like I've arrived. For the past 8 years, I didn't share this earlier, but for the past 8 years, I've precepted students from the university that I got my degree from, and I can see that process in them. And I had a conversation with my student today, and I said to him, he was kind of asking about confidence. We had to do an evaluation, and he was just talking to me about confidence, and confidence in himself and his practice and his abilities. And he's a really great student, probably top 3 that I've had, in the past 8 years. And I said, I wish I could give you that. I wish I could just give you the confidence to know that you're right, but it's a process. You're going to get things wrong along the way, but there's going to be times where you get things right, and you just kind of have to keep going. And as Giselle said earlier, Gigi, look, you really got me. Do your job. When there is nothing else, when you just lose all hope in the process, and you're just lost in that process, and you're thinking, this guy, how many times is he going to say process? Look up and do your job, and just, man, that's so powerful. Just do what you're supposed to do, and do it well. That really jumped out at me. And like I said, I've had a really great pleasure working with this group, because I see the process throughout this group. And and that obviously we're being challenged to move forward in this DAT as well. So
Absolutely. I think we are blessed that we have, the 3 generations that we could have, that we're still practicing, um, from a chronological age and an experience age. I'm pretty sure, Giselle, when you took your NATA board of certification exam, they probably gave you the 1-line sentence, and we had to deal with, your athlete got hit in his back during the football game, go. And we had to do, that was our oral practical. And I know that things have refined so much more since then, and I'm sure what Ellie took very recently is even different than what Chris took. So we're evolving, and that's the important thing. And we all ended up here together in this moment. I think I don't know if our podcast listeners believe in fate, but here we all are together to learn. The last segment that we have is the will to move forward. I'm just gonna open this up to our panel of 3, and whoever would like to start, and we'll have a more open dialogue back and forth for this segment, for this last portion of the book.
Jen, you brought a point earlier. We were talking, and we were talking about the process, and we were talking about if you could turn around and speak to your newly certified self. when I took the BOC, it was the 3 parts, and I had to do the OP and struggle through that, and then go sit back down and finish my written as well. So
Yep.
I was here. I remember that part. But when I walked out and I finally got that news and I got that brand new card, and I thought to myself, there's nothing that can stop me now. And then I got my first job, and I realized that I did not know what I thought I knew. And if I could just turn around and talk to myself, to that 20, I don't know, something year old, and say, the things that I see in this book, I mean, the things that I'm really been hammering in my life, but also in my career, is, living in the moment, being where you are currently, and put checks on yourself. I mean, I wish I could say this one time and be done with it. I wish I could tell myself this one time and be done with it, but it's a daily reminder, as you guys have said, um, you know, to live in that moment, and also trusting the process. As I said earlier, hey, G, you got to really trust this process. You're gonna do something special one day. You might not see it right now, but you're gonna do something. And then, whatever does happen, Ellie said this earlier, and I've really considered tattooing something like this on my arm just to remind me, is that amor fati, the love of fate. I've really thought about tattooing. It's more of a spiritual thing, and to be honest with you, when I wrote down my notes for this book, I thought I wrote down mind, body, heart, and soul. And there's a spiritual component, definitely, because that internal wheel of you, just your drive and not being affected by external forces, but that also that love of what comes your way, and I wanted to put down thy will on my arm, and that way I'm reminded that, whatever comes my way, and I'm a believer in God, and what God has for me, whether it's good or whether it's bad, whether I perceive it as that good or bad, it is what is for me, and I need to love that. But lastly, you know stay focused on what you're doing. It's not about you. It's about the bigger picture. You're working for something bigger. And, and Jan, I talked to you a little bit about this earlier, and, very rarely are you going to hear thank you, G. Very rarely are you going to get shout outs in the news or in the paper, or, on the latest post. You're not going to get that a lot. So if you're in this for the thank yous, then you're not going to get much out of this. But if you can frame your mind and think, man, I'm really serving something better, whether it's a team or whether it's that one person that you made a difference in their life and changed their path or their trajectory, you empowered them, or whatever it might have been. And in my position now, where I do that precepting, I really take that personal. I really take that very serious, and I'm very intentional about what I say and what I do with that young professional, because you are working for something bigger. And sometimes you might not see it, but just keep grinding, brother. So that's what I would say to myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Have that will to keep driving forward.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Boy, what a powerful statement about the essence of who we are as athletic trainers, and how we can, we may be the one person that listens, and that may be all that we need to do. It may not be that we're fixing orthopedic injury, but we listen.
No, there's times where I feel like a counselor, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, honestly, Chris, that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self. You better pay attention in psychology class and abnormal psych, because the things that are going to keep you up at night are maybe some of the struggles that your student athletes are having, your patients are having.
For sure.
But it's also some of the baggage that comes along with them, with their families, things that were not of their doing or creation, and how we can help them navigate that safely, because that affects their well-being as a whole. That's what I would tell 20-year-old. Hey, don't sleep through psych class. You better pay attention, girl. You've got some work. Miss Ellie, you're the closest to that age. What would you roll back and tell 20-year-old you?
Uh, well, I'm still in my 20s, so I would say, I guess, say to myself now that everything is gonna work out in the end. To have more confidence. And if I could say to myself in the future, to future Ellie, who maybe is 50, we'll say, I hope that you're happy with where you are. You've created the life that you wanted and the job, the career that you wanted, through all the opportunities that will open just by meeting people, finishing the Doctor of Athletic Training program, and just pushing through every obstacle.
I'm a little envious of where you're at, because even we're in this together, in this DAT program, which is a amazing opportunity. But if I would roll back to my mid-20s and know that I could do this, I sit and wonder where I was. And I've been so blessed to do so many wonderful things and so many awesome experiences. And I thought the pinnacle of my career, I did reach that at 50. Being honored by the Indiana Athletic Trainers Association. And then I looked around and I'm like, what the heck else am I going to do? Because I've done everything now, but I haven't. That's the thing. Got to keep moving forward. Giselle, what about Will? I mean, what can we give our podcast listeners in these final moments?
You know what? As one of the final last chapters of the book is prepare to start again.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what we need to do. We need to prepare to start again. Because, once we overcome an obstacle, there's more to come. And we're going to have to learn that there are bigger challenges that are coming. This fight is an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle, but we're going to have to learn how to acclimate ourselves and position ourselves how to get through these battles. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's the saying that I've been raised on forever. Where there's a will, there's a way. Now, there was a will in this field of athletic training for me to pursue. I made a way for it to happen. So knowing that pretty much, life is a marathon, not a sprint. It's not a quick turnaround for things. Sometimes you're going to go through these challenges. You're going to go through these obstacles, and we have to train ourselves to navigate through this accordingly. There's going to be all types of situations that are going to go down within our careers. So my will was this, back when in my 20s, there's a will for me to get to the next level, to work on a professional platform. In my 30s, yes, I made a way for that to happen. In my 40s, how am I going to continue for this to happen and also help raise up and train up the newer athletic trainers that, may have different philosophies than the older school ones have. And then currently, that will is still strong. I'm not finished yet. I'm not ready to retire. I have the will to make this happen and to make this field a little bit better than it was last year, than it was a decade ago, than it was 2 decades ago. That's my will. Now, also, again, talking about preparing to start again, you're not really, you're preparing yourself. I'm not saying that every time you overcome an obstacle, you hit the reset button. But again, there's going to be another obstacle. It could be more challenging. It could be less challenging. You don't know what it's going to be, but you have to be prepared to have a mindset of this is another unique challenge. You can't put it in the box of, oh, I've been there, done that before. Yes, you may have, but with this person, with the situation, look at the whole picture. it makes sure that your will to succeed is strong, and it's very relevant to what your outcome wants to be.
I love that. That's beautiful. Beautiful sentiments, guys. We have just a few minutes left here on our podcast. Final thoughts. I guess we can open this back up. Chris, you want to go ahead and give us just 2 minutes of your final thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. You know, as I said, I've enjoyed this book. I've enjoyed this process. I've enjoyed working with you guys, and honestly, the DAT has put a challenge on me to be better. And I was speaking to one of the professors the other day, and I was kind of like, man, I've learned so much in these few months, and I really feel like there should be this grand change in my practice. And 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 I was like, there's not this grand change. I've just been making small little tweaks along the way. And he said, he was just shooting me some encouragement and saying, hey, look, that's okay. That's part of the process. That's all we want is small changes along the way. And so I think, after we read something like this and we can think, man, I'm fired up, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to break down walls. And sometimes it's just chipping away at those walls to to get through those obstacles instead of busting them down all at once. And then finally, what I'd say is, if you're a young athletic trainer, Jan, you said this to Ellie, and I'm a little jealous myself, is that Ellie's has the courage and the will to go into something like this at such a young age, and a practicing, a new professional. I found there was times where I was in my own way, where I was my own obstacle. And so what I would give to you advice wise is, don't be your own obstacle. Don't get in your own way. Live in that moment, trust the process, do your job, and love what comes that way. And remember that you're working for something bigger.
Thank you for that amazing summation. Oh my gosh, you're making me emotional. That's not good for the host. Ellie, where are you at? Final thoughts about the obstacle is the way and the DAT program at Indiana State.
Yeah, so my final thoughts would be kind of piggybacking off of what Jan and G have kind of mentioned. I am very young, and it is a challenge. Because I feel like I'm learning every day still. They've seen me struggle a little bit regarding just a lot of things in general, but my advice to somebody who is my age, which is kind of weird, or a new athletic trainer, is if you're thinking about doing something like this or bettering yourself professionally, do it. Because you're gonna meet amazing people, you're gonna meet the best, you're gonna have the best opportunities, doors are gonna open everywhere all the time. And regarding this book, I think a lot of young professionals, and really any professional, should read it, but I think starting this book at my age will show I will remember this book for a while, I feel. But yeah, those are my final thoughts.
I'm still jealous that you've dove in and the skill set that Ellie brings to all of us is powerful. Motivated. I don't know an individual who's more motivated than she is. So I don't want any of our podcast listeners to think, she's just the young person talking. Absolutely not. She's tenacious. She puts my work ethic to shame. God love her.
That's so not true. You guys are all amazing.
Oh no, it's true. It's so true. Um, G cubed, Giselle. Final thoughts, my friend.
There's so many thoughts going through my head right now. This book was amazing, and this was a good read at the right time. Going through everything that I've gone through in life, and then trying to complete this DAT. This book spoke to me that you're not done yet. Things still need to happen. We still have a few more things to do before you pass the torch to Ellie, our up
Yeah,
and coming athletic trainer here.
absolutely.
My final thoughts is, principle that I stand on. Just remember that there's a job. Our job is very difficult. Especially, well, no, not especially, but on the secondary level, not only do we have to take care of the athletes, but we also have to appease to the parents. We have to deal with that as well. We have injuries to take care of and explanations of injuries to take care of, and on so forth, on different levels. I've been through all different levels of this practice, and this one right here is quite the challenge for me. And I have to look at that not as a challenge. It's an obstacle, but I'm going to just, bust through that obstacle. I'm going to make it okay, because my thing is, do your job and do it well. And I'm going to hold on to that. Do your job and do it well.
I love that. I think my final thoughts for today, I'm going to piggyback off of something that Giselle just said. Because I actually said this to someone who was in an auto accident, not of her doing this fall. She had made the comment that she felt like she was a cat that just lost a life, because she should have had more catastrophic injuries than she has. But I just looked straight at her, and she is a young lady with some faith, and I said, well, if you have any doubts as to why you're here, you aren't done yet, or you wouldn't be here. So make the most of every opportunity, and I hope that you podcast listeners tonight, as you're thinking, contemplating about your career as an athletic trainer, or if you're an athletic trainer support staff member, make sure that we keep everybody moving forward for the greater good. This is Jan Clifton-Gaw for Athletic Training Now. We will be back next week with our next topic, and keep fighting the good fight. Good night, y'all.